Ladies and gentlemen, we have major breaking news coming out just in the past 15 or so minutes. Hunter Biden, the son of the president, has been found guilty on all counts, 3 felony charges. He is facing 25 years in prison. Now, this kind of comes as a shock to many people. Some people are saying they're not shocked by it. But I think it is kind of shocking because we all thought a jury nullification was coming. Many of the jurors had some kind of connection or story that made them appear sympathetic to Hunter Biden, but I don't think they could pull the wool over their eyes. Hunter Biden was an admitted crack addict. There are text messages that were presented by the prosecution. When he was filling out his application to buy a gun, he said he was not a user of illicit substances. However, shortly after was texting people, I believe, I want to make sure I get all the details correct, but my understanding is, and I could be wrong, but my understanding was he was texting people that he was doing crack right after he bought it. The argument, of course, was that he was clean when he bought the gun, and then afterwards he got dirty again. Now, there's a big debate over whether or not this is the right way to go about things, because many people are concerned, especially 2A advocates, that this charge and federal background check forms violate the Fifth Amendment against I believe it's Fifth. Yes, against self-incrimination, meaning Hunter Biden was not guilty of a crime at any point. Now, we know he did crack, and that is illegal. But the point is, the state has to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt through due process before you can strip someone of their rights. For Hunter Biden to have to confess to committing a crime on a form is self-incrimination, and many are saying it's unconstitutional. For that reason, I am torn. You know, people have asked me, should Hunter Biden be pardoned? And I would say yes, but, you know, the wartime individual in me says no sympathy for these people. They want to lock up Trump. They want to lock up Peter Navarro. They want to lock up Steve Bannon. They want to lock up Trump CFO Weisselberg. I believe Weisselberg's name. They're going after everybody. And they want to raid Roger Stone in the wee hours of the morning and tip off CNN. Why cut any deals with Hunter Biden? Well, then there's the challenge of maintaining principles versus wartime and peacetime. To the principles, I do not believe these charges are good. I believe that the idea that you have to self-incriminate on this background check form is unconstitutional. And we should not erode our rights for what? Hunter Biden? What is accomplished by putting Hunter Biden in prison? Now, to be fair, many people are saying things like, I will never vote for a convicted felon. And the response now over Hunter Biden's conviction, and more to the point, most of the commentary before his conviction were from people saying, well, I'm not voting for Hunter Biden. I'm voting for Joe. Hunter Biden's his own person. I do not believe we win any strong political points by getting Hunter Biden on a gun charge, which only bolsters gun control claims, and I don't think to a large degree will actually impact Joe Biden. Now, I'm not actually convinced Joe Biden makes it in the long run. Anybody who's watched any of the videos about Joe Biden recently, we had his Juneteenth celebration where everyone's dancing and singing, and he's just cornholioing, standing there, totally zoned out. I think there's a strong probability it ain't going to be Joe Biden. Some have suggested that the debate with Trump is their way of getting Joe Biden out of there. I can't say for sure. I don't know. We don't know. But it does seem certainly strange. Now, how about this? Let's read the breaking news. And we'll talk about Hunter Biden facing 25 years in prison. I don't yet know when sentencing is going to be because this is just breaking right now. But we do have more details as well. It is widely believed that Joe Biden will pardon Hunter. And then we have Hunter Biden's tax trial coming up. So he might go to jail for a long time. Long time. I got to say, with Joe Biden lacking the cognitive function, he might want to pardon Hunter Biden sooner rather than later. I got a feeling that Jill's going to say something like, Joe, you've only got a few weeks left. Your brain ain't working. And in that moment of lucidity where she sees the twinkle in his eye, she says, Joe, please now sign the pardon. And he's like, I can't remember what's happening. And then she's like, just sign the paper. And he's like, I'll try. And then he signs Hunter Biden's pardon. And then his eyes go wide again and the drool comes out of his mouth. The last moment they have to spare Hunter Biden going to prison. CNBC with the breaking report, a jury has convicted Hunter Biden, the son of the president. Look, some people say we live in a simulation, and that is just kind of like nerd talk for religion. The universe was made by a higher power. But let's just say this, be it God, be it some dude in his bedroom playing a video game, there's certainly a sense of humor and a desire for excitement in this reality for which we exist. Biden was charged with crimes related to the purchase and possession of a handgun while being a user and addict of illegal drugs. Hunter Biden, 54, was found guilty of making false statements in connection with the sale of a firearm, a false statement in a firearms transaction, and possessing a firearm while being a drug user or drug addict. Now, that last one, I am fine with. If somebody buys a gun and they are using crazy drugs, and you can prove that they were on the crazy drugs while in possession of the weapon, that I agree with. But I think we got to be careful here, because I believe that even if you use drugs, so long as you're not using drugs and having the gun at the same time, like let's clarify. If Hunter Biden is strapped with this gun on his person and he's cracked out of his mind, I agree that should be a penalty in which you lose your rights to your firearm. You go through due process to say you are under the influence while equipped with a weapon. I don't believe, however, if you do a drug and you have the gun at home, that's a different crime. I think we then charge the person for the illicit drug use. If it's a felony, then they can have to surrender their guns. Through due process, your rights are curtailed. But I think we got to be careful here, because I am a staunch 2A advocate. I think we have to maintain our right to defend ourselves. And the idea that he could go to prison for not incriminating himself, I think is a dangerous thing. But let's keep it in the news. We'll read some more. And then afterwards, we'll grab some of your super chats as we are live here with this breaking story. The charges relate to his purchase of a handgun while being an active user of illegal drugs. Biden looked straight ahead at the jury and nodded slightly as 3 guilty verdicts were read. First Lady Jill Biden entered the courtroom after the verdict was announced. Now, what I heard was that she ran into the courtroom. Biden's wife, Melissa Cohen Biden, was in the room when the verdict was read out. The verdict came after about 3 hours of deliberations. Jurors began deliberating on Monday afternoon after hearing closing arguments from prosecutors and Biden's lawyer, Abby Lowell, an instruction from Judge Marielle Noriega. He faces a maximum possible prison sentence of 10 years on 2 of the felony counts and a maximum possible sentence of 5 years in prison on the 3rd count. Biden is separately charged in LA federal court with failing to pay taxes on more than $1.4 million in income over several years. He is due to stand trial in that case in September, 2 months before his father faces the Republican Donald Trump in the presidential election. Could you imagine if this was like Eric or Don Jr.? Jeez. Right now you got liberals being like, I can't believe they're doing this to Hunter Biden. He did this. He did all this. Like, come on, man. But, I'm here to say, I don't think we really win any points. This is not Joe Biden. We want Joe Biden. OK, Joe is connected to these illicit business dealings, to these tax dealings. We know they were in communication. We know Joe Biden lied about all of it. That's the issue. Hunter Biden is a crackhead I don't care about. Now, that being said, if you win political points, you win political points. And we are in a state of political and legal warfare, lawfare, some might call it. They will use everything and anything to go after Donald Trump, to smear and defame anyone who's supportive of Donald Trump. Now, I will stress this. Donald Trump is far from a perfect man. He's a funny guy. He's a great entertainer. He's very charismatic. His first term, pretty good. Perfect? No way. Is he brash and sometimes off-putting? Yes. Now, it's a low bar. I think Donald Trump is the greatest president of my lifetime. I see a guy who actually brought jobs back to this country. I see the termination of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. I see an attempt to secure our southern borders. I see a guy who is trying to bring peace to many different countries around the world. And that is bad for the liberal economic order. Formed after World War II, various nations that won decided we need to have a world order. Not necessarily a world government, but U.S. military bases occupying everywhere. That's the American empire. How many German military bases all over the world? How many British? Certainly the British as the Commonwealth, but the United States maintained this hegemonic power after World War II. That's the liberal economic order. And they don't like that Donald Trump tried to negotiate peace with North Korea. They don't want peace. They want to crush them. Now, don't get me wrong, communists are bad, but it's also none of our business. We should be working on making America great because you cannot have a liberal economic order with U.S. military everywhere if you can't function as a country. It destabilizes. And in fact, Donald Trump is evidence their plans don't work. The fact that he got elected shows it. And now he's on track to win again. So I would say this. While Donald Trump may not be a perfect guy, he's the best I've ever seen. I've heard stories of other presidents, but it's probably romanticized. Donald Trump is a guy who is able to do many things that many lefties wanted. Before Donald Trump, I remember we wanted free speech. We wanted an end to the war. We wanted an end to the Trans-Pacific Partnership. We wanted to bring jobs back for the working class in this country. And Donald Trump offered those things. And that's why so many Bernie supporters switched to him. Now, here we are. The question is, who is Joe Biden? What is he offering? And what do we obtain by having Hunter Biden locked up? Many people are speculating, and I agree. The reason Hunter Biden is being thrown to the wolves, and we did predict this, you and I, months ago, that they would throw Hunter Biden in a lockup so that they could come out and say, see, we're being fair. Joe Biden's just innocent. But Hunter, he's going to jail, just like Donald Trump. And hey, didn't you say the jury was biased and they were setting up a jury nullification? Well, look, you said it was biased. I guarantee you, shout out to the Krasensteins. That's exactly what they're tweeting right now. See, this proves the federal government is not biased. They're going after the president's son. Amazing. Joe Biden sacrificed his own child for power. Think about what that means. Part of me wants Joe Biden to have said no to these charges and commuted the sentence of Hunter Biden. I don't even know why they were brought in the first place. They didn't need to be. Joe's the president. He could have just said, guys, don't go there because you put me in a weird position. But I want you to understand this. Shout out to Rich Barris. So someone asked, can Joe pardon Hunter? Yes, because these are federal charges. Rich Barris, the People's Pundit, says, as I understand it, the big guy can pardon a bag boy. But holy ish, folks, he sacrificed his own son for political optics. Dirty. How'd that conversation go? Son, you've been a lot of trouble for dad over the years, and now you got to take this one for dad. Oh, man. Wow. CNN analyst tells Chris Wallace Biden will pardon Hunter no matter what he says now. I agree. And so if the argument is that Joe sacrificed Hunter for political optics to make it look like we went after Trump, but we're fair. We all know that Joe's going to pardon Hunter. Come on. And I expect him to. You know, I'm torn on this, right? Should a father in any circumstance allow his son to take the fall? It's a tough question. It's a tough question. Depends how bad. The crimes that Hunter's being charged with here, the gun charge, I don't think are that bad. In fact, I'm not a fan of them. Like I mentioned, self-incrimination. Now, if Hunter was like, I don't know, strangling rabbits as a child and then went on a murdering spree or something, I don't expect Joe to come out, and pardon him. But I imagine the average father, upon learning that his son has done something wrong, the average father deciding to take the blame to protect his child. It's kind of scary. It's kind of bad, but it's also kind of right in a sense. What I mean is, if there's a kid who he's like driving in a parking lot and then he hits a car on accident, panics, drives home, hit and run, tells his dad, the cops show up and they say, this vehicle was seen rear-ending. I imagine a lot of dads are going to be like, that was me. Yeah, sorry, that was me. I take full responsibility. Son, go to your room. Because a dad doesn't want his kid's life to be over something stupid, like a mistake. This one's interesting. Should Joe Biden, and you guys, we're live here for the special breaking news. Super chat or chat. Should Joe, as a father, have protected his son from these charges, or should he just pardon him now? Because the issue is this really Joe Biden using his son as a political tool to make it look like his DOJ is not biased when they're going after Donald Trump in these federal cases? Now, don't get me wrong. The criminal conviction of Donald Trump is a state level thing. And so is Georgia. Georgia's frozen probably till after the election. But for the federal charges, they can say, see, we're not biased. Trump's being charged because he broke the law, and Hunter got charged, my own son. That's the game they'll play. Some have suggested that Jill is actually the one running the show. But I agree. Last week, ABC News anchor David Muir asked Biden about pardoning his 54-year-old son, who faces 3 counts of, we know, illegally possessing a firearm while addicted to crack cocaine. Muir asked whether he would accept the jury's outcome. The president simply, and whether he has ruled out a pardon for him. He said yes to both. On Saturday, Goldberg was on a panel with Lulu Garcia-Navarro, Rayhan Salam, and Kara Swisher for CNN's The Chris Wallace Show to discuss Biden's pledge. Let's wait and see what happens if he loses. I have to imagine if Joe Biden loses, he's pardoning Hunter Biden, no question. And that's the big question for you guys. And it's a moral question that's tough. Should he? Should Joe Biden say, I've lost, I'm leaving, pardon? I got a feeling Joe Biden will pardon everyone. If Joe Biden loses, I would not be surprised. It does seem out of the ordinary. So a normalcy bias, these kind of things don't happen, but I would not be surprised if on his way out, Joe Biden signed sweeping pardons for Hillary Clinton, for Wray, for Yates, for Obama. Yep, Obama, for all of them. Obama's fair game now. So is Bush. I would be surprised if he pardons Bush. Obama killed an American citizen, several actually. A 16-year-old who was eating at a civilian restaurant in Yemen, Abdulrahman al-Awlaki. Abdulrahman al-Awlaki was his name. He was from the United States. He was from Denver, Colorado. He lived in San Diego. And Barack Obama signed off on a drone strike that blew him and several civilians up. Why? No criminal charges? You want to bring charges against Donald Trump for documents. You want to convict him for sending checks to Cohen, which you claim. Fine. Open the door to prosecuting all the other presidents as well. They're going to say, yes, but he said he would. What's he going to say? He has to say that. The exchange is sort of a prelude to a more full-throated skepticism on Biden's remarks by Goldberg. So we don't know if Hunter Biden is actually going to be found guilty. I think he will. We don't know, even if he's found guilty, whether he will go get a real prison sentence or this is or in a subsequent tax case. If he does get a real prison sentence, despite your endearing faith in Joe Biden's word, Joe Biden will pardon his son to spare him a prison sentence after the election, one way or another. Fair point. If Joe Biden wins, he'll just pardon Hunter. Why not? He's like, I got one term left. You can't do anything about it. There you go. I don't know. Republicans might say they want to impeach him, but you can't. The president has the authority to pardon at the federal level. Hunter Biden's attorneys wrapped up their case Monday, and now we know that he was found guilty. These are the charges from September 14th, 2023. They say, according to the indictment, Hunter Biden purchased a Colt Cobra 38 special revolver from a federally licensed firearms dealer on October 12th, 2018. When purchasing a firearm, a prospective purchaser must fill out a firearm transaction record, ATF Form 4473, and certify that all of his or her answers on the form are true and correct. As alleged in count 1 of the indictment, Hunter Biden knowingly made a false written statement on the Form 4473, intended and likely to deceive the dealer he purchased the firearm from. When he certified that he was not an unlawful user of or addicted to any stimulant, narcotic drug, or any other controlled substance. In fact, he knew that statement was false, according to the indictment. In count 2, he's alleged to have knowingly made a false statement and representation to a federally licensed firearm dealer with respect to information the dealer is required to keep under federal law. Count 3 of the indictment alleges that during an 11-day period between October 12th and October 23rd, 2018, Hunter Biden possessed a firearm while knowing he was an unlawful user or addicted to any stimulant, narcotic drug, or any other controlled substance. And he was. Because he's a crackhead. And it's sad. And I'm happy to hear in more recent histories that he has cleaned himself up. I ask you then, what are the benefits? What are the benefits to this conviction? And perhaps benefits don't matter at all. Perhaps all that matters is he broke the law, he goes to jail. Thank you and have a nice day. Perhaps there's no reason to compare this to Trump at all. Trump is still facing double standards. Hunter Biden's a criminal and goes to jail. However, Reuters says if the jury finds him guilty, which they did, he faces up to 25 years in prison. Although sentences are typically shorter than the maximum, according to the DOJ, the jury of 12 must unanimously agree on a conviction. Now, they ask, are the charges against Hunter Biden unusual? Yes, the government rarely charges someone for false statements on gun purchase forms unless the accused is also charged with a violent crime. According to a Government Accountability Office report cited by Hunter Biden's legal team, more than 80 million American adults own a firearm, but only about 1,000 a year are investigated for false statements on a gun purchase form, and even fewer are charged. I must stress, however, we know you did it. That's the problem. Okay? If they've looked at a form and say, I think this guy's lying, but we can't really prove it. He's probably doing drugs, but we can't really prove it. Okay. But Hunter, you were telling people you were doing crack. There's evidence. So this is potentially unusual, but I don't think matters. I don't think matters at all. Now, next up, get in line, buddy, because December 7th, 2023, the DOJ posted this press release. Grand jury returns indictment charging Robert Hunter Biden with 3 felony tax offenses and 6 misdemeanor tax offenses. According to the indictment, Hunter Biden engaged in a 4-year scheme in which he chose not to pay at least $1.4 million in self-assessed federal taxes he owed for tax years 2016 through 19, and to evade the assessment of taxes for tax year 2018 when he filed false returns. As alleged in the indictment, to further his scheme, Hunter Biden subverted the payroll tax withholding process of his own company by withdrawing millions outside of the payroll and tax withholding process. Spent millions of dollars on an extravagant lifestyle rather than paying his tax bills. In 2018, stopped paying his outstanding and overdue taxes for tax year 2015. Willfully failed to pay his 16, 17, 18, 19 taxes on time, despite having access to funds to pay some or all of these taxes. Willfully failed to file his 2017 and 2018 tax returns on time, and when he did finally file his 2018 returns, included false business deductions in order to reduce the very substantial tax liability he faced as of February 2020. Not a fan of this either. I'm not a fan of this. Now, don't get me wrong. Show me the evidence. Let's talk about it. But let's break this down. What does it mean? He subverted the payroll and tax withholding process for his own company by withdrawing millions outside of the payroll and tax withholding process. You got to clarify that, because if he's doing like a profit draw or something like this, clearly they must not mean that. So how is he withdrawing this money, and what does that mean? Considering he didn't pay his taxes, I think it's a combination offense where you didn't file your taxes. That's already a problem, but you were pulling the money and spending it. He spent millions of dollars on an extravagant lifestyle rather than paying his tax bills. I got to say this, okay? It really is a combination of factors that make this work. In 2018, he stopped paying his outstanding and overdue taxes for the year 2015. If he knew he had to pay and he stopped paying, I think you can then see he's taking willful actions. Willfully failed to pay 16, 17, 18, and 19 taxes on time. No, hold on. On time? Does that mean he still paid them? Because typically it's a civil violation. You get a fine with interest on top. He willfully failed to file his 17 and 18 tax returns on time. But hold on. Like, did he pay them? I want to know. And he did file his 2018 return, but false business deductions. Now, that's an interesting point I'd like to see proven. The challenge with business deductions is that here's how it would work normally. You claim a deduction that you believe is legitimate, and if the IRS says that's not, you say, we can challenge it, and it's a civil violation, right? So if a company buys equipment and then they deduct it or they depreciate it, and the IRS says you can't deduct or depreciate that, they say, okay, how much do I owe you then? Because my understanding was that it was good. They say you owe us X amount of dollars. Say, okay, here's the money. If all of those things happen where Hunter is claiming deductions on things that are clearly not deductible, and that's plainly obvious. He's not paying his taxes on time. He stopped paying taxes for 1 year. He's living it up, knowing he owes money on taxes, and he's pulling the money from the company, subverting. You combine those things, I get it. But the libertarian, small L, libertarian parties are weirdos, in me says, I don't like the tax issue in general. I think, first, it's bad enough people get overtaxed. But let's just say, fine, let's accept the tax law exists right now. I believe the appropriate response to this is to just take his money. I don't like, But again, I stress, I must stress, I don't know exactly what Hunter did. It may be like egregious where he's texting people, be like, I ain't paying no taxes. Lawman's going to have to come for me, like he was with the crack cocaine thing. Because usually you get a letter in the mail from the IRS and they're like, you owe us X amount of dollars. And you go, okay. And if it's a large sum, you call a lawyer. And if it's a small sum, you just pay it. So it'd be interesting to see the full details of this. So that will be coming up, I believe, the tax case. We have this, what's next for Hunter Biden, a likely appeal, and a trial on tax charges. So I think the 15 to 21 months for his first offense. Man, homie's going to prison. Man. Let's see, do they bring up, he's going to appeal, most likely. I don't see how he appeals. What are the grounds for appeal? Noriega rejected several requests to dismiss the gun charges, but defense lawyer Abe Lowell said he would continue pursuing legal challenges. Lowell accused Justice Department Special Counsel David Weiss of prosecuting Biden vindictively because few people are charged under the law. Yeah, sorry, that don't fly. Republicans criticized the sweetheart deal, the plea agreement offered Biden that Noriega, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. Noriega rejected. Lowell has argued Weiss sought an indictment despite a lack of additional evidence because of the criticism and accusation the prosecutor denied and called fiction designed for a Hollywood script. Noriega and Weiss were each appointed by Trump. So let's see. Supreme Court pending in challenge to gun statute. The law that served as a foundation for the charges against Biden has been challenged by gun rights advocates for years. A 2022 Supreme Court decision overturned a New York law by ruling any gun restrictions must be consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation, which opened the door to a flood of challenges to firearm regulations. In one case, Zaki Rahimi's lawyers appealed his conviction under a law, the same one used to charge Biden, prohibiting him from owning a gun because of a protective order his girlfriend got against him. The law at stake in the court battles is 18 U.S.C. 922, which in nearly 4 to the 5 cases is used to stop convicted felons from possessing firearms. But the section of the code contains lesser-known provisions prohibiting gun possession for other reasons, such as for drug use or addiction, the charge against Biden. Like Rahimi, Lowell argued in Biden's case the charges were unconstitutional. Despite his son's legal challenge, Biden has advocated making gun background checks even tighter. And there's the big problem for Joe. If he pardons Hunter, he proves himself a hypocrite. He also proves himself as a bad dad. So have fun with the rock and the hard place on that one. His tax trial is set to begin September 5th. U.S. District Judge Mark Scarsi set Biden's trial in L.A. on 9 tax charges for September 5th after Lowell asked for more time to prepare between trials after the tax case was initially set for June 20th. The plea agreement had called for Biden to admit 2 misdemeanors for not paying taxes, but Weiss secured an indictment on 3 felony tax offenses and 6 misdemeanors. Biden allegedly engaged in a scheme in which he failed to pay at least $1.4 million in self-assessed taxes from 16 through 19. We read all that stuff, so we get it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, big news. The question will be for later in the day on the politics of the matter. How will this impact Joe Biden in the polls? I don't know. They're already saying, I'm not voting for Hunter. I'm voting for Joe. Joe's brain already does not work. I don't know what to tell you. People are willing to vote for a guy who clearly, let me pull this video up. They're willing to vote for a guy who clearly is not there. Okay. Let me see if I have this. I'm pretty sure I have this clip somewhere. Yeah, we got it. We got this clip. All right. Let me play this clip for you guys and you understand. Here we go. Here's Joe. That's how it's supposed to be. Don't really need the music. Everyone's, getting a little dancing going on, clapping, and Biden. Look at his arms. They're just like locked in a weird position. He looks at what is he doing? Biden isn't moving. He's gone, man. He's just gone. He's gone. If people are willing to vote for that dude, I don't know what to tell you. Best of luck, America. I don't think anything. I don't think getting Hunter Biden on this changes much. I got to be honest. But I suppose we'll see. Let me read some of your super chats, and then we'll probably start winding this thing down. I'll have another segment for you coming up at 4 p.m. and 6 p.m., of course. Become a member at timcast.com if you want to support our work. Tristan D says it's a trick to make dumb people believe we have a fair justice system. Democrats are desperate. Jason Dixon says, Tim, can you please shut out the Discord? The community is strong and a lot of fun. Become a member at timcast.com. Join our Discord server. It's good fun. Don't miss it. Nick Duggar says, all these charges do is reinforce the ATF's unconstitutional laws. Nobody should be celebrating this. Instead, they should be pushing to go after him for being an alleged, for which he seems to be an image video evidence. You know, an abuser of children, we'll call it that. Rand Schwartz says, your principles mean nothing if you lose. Agree. And that's the wartime political perspective. Don't give your enemies any ground. The morality of a functioning system are for those who believe in the functioning system. For the people who believe in free speech, we protect their free speech, no matter how important it may be. But those who seek to subvert and destroy free speech should not be protected. I think perhaps a prerequisite of constitutional protections are that you agree with the protections. So I say, free speech for everybody. Then someone comes out and says, no free speech for anyone. I say, then no free speech for you. But if someone comes out and they say that they're a communist that wants to overthrow the country, but they do believe that anyone should have free speech, I'll protect their free speech. If they ever come out and say, take their speech, arrest them, lock them up, I say, then you don't get any either. JRG Project says, at this point, I don't care. As long as they have a vendetta against Trump, all bets are off. Trump 2024 makes space great again. Mars 2029. Shout out to Elon Musk. The Clapper of Cheek says in the debate, Trump should tell Biden he'll pardon Hunter. Oh, man. That's strong, man. RHEC says, Tim, that guy who said had a license didn't recheck the case. It gets even funnier. Interesting. Here we go. Kyle says he should just pardon him and correct the ATF form. Yeah. Anti-Pattern says Joe is using the case to make sure Hunter is a good boy. Joe will wait on the pardon to keep Hunter silent. Perhaps. Big Boy says, Tim, I agree with you that Joe sacrificed his son to show the government isn't biased. He will show the public he isn't biased, and the last minute will pardon his son. Only so he can get elected. Once he's elected, then the gloves are off, and he's like, all right, Hunter, you're free. All right, let's grab a couple more. Elijah Butterfield says, on the subject of pardoning Hunter, refer to the lawman Bass Reeves. Is it Bass Reeves? He turned in his own son. Beautiful example of honor with justice. Should be something to aim for in today's world IMO. You know, it depends. It depends. If like a kid is a dangerous threat to the society, then the parents should turn that person into law enforcement. If a kid committed a small crime, I actually think it's a blend of right and wrong. A father seeking to protect his child, I understand that drive. How do you tell a dad or a mom not to do this? But can we allow people to commit crimes and get away with it and maintain a society? It's a tough call, isn't it? Parents who are there for their children. David Bach says, Tim, Biden isn't gone in that video. He's super uncomfortable around the black folk there. He's been a racist his whole life. Yep. Yeah, I buy that one. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to get interesting. We'll have more, of course, tonight on Timcast IRL at 8 p.m. This is going to be the big story for the day, most likely, with more developments coming in, probably statements from Hunter and Joe and the family. So stick around for that. Smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with all your friends, and head over to timcast.com, click join us to become a member, get on the Discord server, and support the work that we are doing here. The next segment will be coming up at 4 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all then.